People picture cowboys using their rifles like in the movies. Perfect stance, polished guns, everything looking heroic. The real West didn't work like that. A cowboy's rifle was a tool, not a trophy. Out there, a rifle was whatever the day demanded. A walking stick, a signal flag, a snake probe, or something you fired from the dirt when trouble hit fast. Most of the real tricks cowboys used never made it into the movies. They just weren't pretty. So today, we're counting down 10 real rifle tricks cowboys actually used, the practical, gritty methods that kept them alive. Let's start at number 10. Number 10, rifle walking stick support, the trail hand's silent crutch. Hollywood loves showing cowboys handling their rifles like showpieces. The truth? Most days, that Winchester was a walking stick long before it was a weapon. On real cattle drives, the ground was brutal. Loose rock, steep cuts, deep mud. After long hours in the saddle, cowboys leaned on their rifles to climb, steady themselves, and cross water without wiping out. Frontier diaries back it up again and again. The rifle was the toughest tool a cowboy owned. It didn't look impressive, so the movies left it out. But on the real trail, your rifle was whatever kept you standing. Number 9. Water and mud testing, the barrel dip reality check. Cowboys didn't trust what was waiting under the water in front of them. Before stepping into a creek or mud bank, they dipped the rifle barrel in first, checking depth, firmness, and whether the ground would hold a horse. Frontier journals talk about this all the time. A hidden drop or soft mud could swallow a rider in seconds, and the rifle was the only tool tough enough to test it. It wasn't exactly a heroic pose, so movies never show it. But on the trail, one quick dip of the barrel could save a cowboy or an entire herd from disaster. Number 8. Rifle signaling, the silent plains telegraph. Out on the open range, sound didn't carry, and shouting could panic a whole herd. So cowboys turned their rifles into silent signal flags. A raised rifle meant stop. A lowered one meant come ahead. Sweep it sideways, and you were warning of danger or strays. On big drives, it was often the only way riders spread out over hundreds of yards could communicate. It didn't make for much of a hero shot, so movies skip it. But on the real plains, one lift of a rifle could steer riders and a whole herd without a single word. Number 7. Saving spent brass, the frontier's reusable lifeline. Ammunition was expensive on the frontier, and remote towns ran out all the time. So cowboys kept every empty cartridge they fired. Frontier riders tucked spent brass into pockets or saddlebags because those casings could be reloaded back at camp with simple hand tools. Frontier journals talk about it often, especially among ranch hands, scouts, and small-town lawmen who couldn't afford to waste a single round. Losing brass meant losing money, and sometimes losing your only backup ammo. Movies love to show brass flying all over the ground. Real cowboys picked up every single piece. Number 6. Half-loading and safety carry, the Rough Rider's quiet insurance. Riding with a fully loaded rifle looks dramatic on screen. In reality, it was one of the fastest ways to injure your own horse. On rough terrain, the bounce of a saddle could jar a rifle hard enough to slip a hammer or nudge a trigger. So cowboys often carried their rifles with the chamber empty, the hammer on half-cock, or one round down. Frontier riders and Texas Rangers wrote about it often. You kept the rifle ready, but not ready enough to kill you. One misfire on a bad ridge could break a leg, kill a horse, or leave you stranded miles from help. It didn't fit the clean action hero image, so the movies left it out. And every seasoned rider knew the same rule. A rifle only saved you if it stayed quiet until the moment you needed it. If you're still with me, tell me in the comments which trick surprised you most so far. Number 5. Finger-loaded speed rounds, the buffalo hunter's fast hand. Cowboys didn't fumble for cartridges the way the movies like to show. Experienced riders, especially buffalo hunters, kept spare rounds tucked between their fingers so they could reload fast without reaching into pockets or belts. Frontier photos and hunter accounts show the same method. Cartridges gripped between the first and second fingers of the left hand, ready to slide straight into the chamber the moment the rifle opened. It didn't look fancy, but when you were shooting wolves, wounded buffalo, or rustlers on the run, saving a second mattered. It wasn't the kind of reload anyone would film for effect, so Hollywood never uses it. The fastest reloaders weren't showmen. They were the ones who already had the next round waiting between their fingers. Number 4. Hip firing at close range, the last-second lifesaver. Movies turn hip firing into some flashy gunfighter move. For real cowboys, it was the opposite. You only fired from the hip when trouble was already on top of you. Trail journals and Texas Ranger reports describe the same moments again and again. A wolf charging the herd, a rattlesnake striking at your boots, or a rustler slipping through a fence line. At close range, you didn't shoulder the rifle or try to look heroic. You snapped it from the hip because it was the only shot you had time to make. You wouldn't hit much at distance, but up close, a heavy rifle fired from the hip hit hard and stopped whatever was coming. Out there, speed meant staying alive. It never makes it into the movies because it isn't clean or camera-friendly. But on the frontier, the fastest way to survive was to fire before the rifle ever reached your shoulder. Number 3. Rifle as club and tool, the frontier's bone-breaking backup. A cowboy's rifle wasn't just a firearm. When things got close or desperate, it became a club, often a better one than anything on their belt. Frontier diaries, ranger reports, and even court records describe the same scenes. Cowboys swinging the buttstock to break up bar fights, knock sense into a drunk trailhand, or smash a wolf that got too close. The rifle stock was heavy hardwood, built to survive recoil and rough riding, perfect for cracking a skull when the moment demanded it. And it wasn't just for fights. Cowboys used the stock to break ice for their horses, hammer loose wagon pins, and drive stakes into the ground. It was the closest thing they had to a multi-tool, tough enough to take real abuse. It never makes it into the movies because it's too crude for a hero shot. But on the real frontier, if your rifle wasn't firing, it was swinging, and you used every inch of it to survive. Number 2. Firing from the ground and cover. The dirt-level reality of frontier gunfights. Movies love showing clean standoffs. Two men facing each other in the open, rifles raised like a staged duel. The real frontier wasn't that neat. Accounts from cowboys, ranch hands, scouts, and Texas Rangers all describe the same thing. When bullets started flying, men hit the dirt instantly. Cowboys fired from their stomachs, their sides, one knee, behind wagon wheels, barn corners, water troughs, even from under the wagons themselves. You used whatever cover you had because standing tall was an invitation to get shot. Most frontier shootings were fast, messy, and full of awkward angles. The ground was your friend, and the rifle was braced on anything you could reach. Your elbow, a saddle thrown on its side, a rock, a fence rail. There was no clean form or perfect stance. There was just survival. It never shows up in the movies because it doesn't look heroic. But the people who survived real gunfights weren't posing. They were scrambling, bracing, and firing from the dirt because that was the only way to stay alive long enough to fire again. Number 1. Brace shooting on anything, the marksman's real secret. One of the biggest myths about frontier shooting is the idea of a cowboy firing perfect offhand shots in the open. Real cowboys almost never did that. Frontier marksmen, buffalo hunters, ranch hands, scouts, and lawmen rested their rifles on anything they could reach. Saddle horns, fence rails, wagon wheels, tree limbs, rocks, even a hat if that's all they had. They knew a simple brace could be the difference between a clean hit and wasting the only shot they'd get that day. Buffalo hunters lived by this rule. They carried cross sticks, used folded coats, or dug their elbows into the dirt to keep the rifle steady. Distance, wind, dust, and exhaustion made freehand shots unreliable, and ammunition was too valuable to waste on a wobble. Every report from the time says the same thing. You braced the rifle whenever you could, no exceptions. The real frontier shooter wasn't posing. He was steadying his breath, finding a rest, and using anything he could to keep the rifle still, because out there, accuracy didn't make you look good. It kept you alive. The West was never the polished world Hollywood sells us. Cowboys didn't treat their rifles like props. They used them, abused them, and relied on them in ways that were messy, practical, and sometimes brutal. And if you want more of the real Old West, not the movie version, make sure you're subscribed. There's plenty more coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.